So, my name is Sammy, and as you can tell, this is my first actual YouTube video, and I'm pretty excited. Okay, so let's go into it with the biology review of types of cell signaling. Alright, so this is the overview. Chemical signals come from ligands, and ligands are molecules that bind to specific receptors. And also, a particular thing about ligands is the ligand has to have the specific fit to get into the receptor for the cell for it to be able to be accepted, because without that, it's just going to bounce right off. Ligands start these things called signal transduction pathways, and they're these things where, let's say, like a ligand binds to a receptor, then that'll cause one thing, which will cause another, which will cause another, which will cause another, and it can cause multiple changes because of this, and it just expands, and that is a signal transduction pathway. And they're a lot like dominoes, actually. Here is a drawing I did to kind of illustrate what happens with ligands and receptors, and you can see here that ligands, the ligands have to fit pretty, especially into the receptor, for it to be able to work, like right here. Ooh, someone's being a potato. Okay, whatever, it's fine. Right here, you'd have to see that it fits right there, but if the cell doesn't have the receptor, has a different receptor, like you see right here, then it's not going to fit because the shapes don't go together. And also, whenever you have a ligand, especially if it's one of those things where it's from an outside stimulus, like for instance, if you're drinking milk and then the lactose goes down your system and your cells are trying to process that they're going to all be jumping around there and they're going to be bumping into these receptors. And if it doesn't fit, well, the cell doesn't do it. Alright, so the types of signals we'll be talking about today are autocrine, paracrine, juxtacrine, hormones, and outside stimulus. So we already mentioned that part, but yeah. Okay, autocrine signaling mostly revolves around cells that are sending signals to themselves. And this sounds a little bit not productive, but that's what they do. And what they do is they secrete these ligands out of their cell membranes, and then it goes back and attaches to the receptor on the outside of the cell, which is a little bit not productive, as I said earlier, but that's what happens. A good example of this is cancer cells, because they just keep secreting things that keep telling them to keep replicating over and over again, which isn't great, but that's, again, what happens. There's also paracrine signaling, and this is, I think, one of the best used examples of specifically cell signaling besides outside stimulus, like most used in general. And what happens is the cell secretes stuff and it's directed at a specific cell that's next to it, and it just recepts it, and it's like that. And then, for instance, neurotransmitters, let's say it's, my pencil's being a butt. For neurotransmitters, be like that, and then it send a little thing bobber across, and then it get the signal. For juxtacrine signaling, the cells have to have a physical connection or touching to get the things across. To get the ligands across, so sorry. And it has to be bound to the surface of the cells. For hormones and endocrine, well, they can be called either sometimes. These are signals that travel really far through the body to get different receptors that are pretty far away. For plants, this goes through the vascular system, and for animals, this goes through the circulatory system, and this can be directed at multiple cells at once. For outside stimulus, we already talked about this particular example, but outside stimulus can cause or directly give ligands for usage. And again, as we talked about earlier, example of this would be drinking milk, because I can see right there, this little guy right there, he's drinking milk. And the lactose is coming down into the area that the cells are in right there. And the cells are like, oh my gosh, lactose. So that means that we have to make enzymes to process this lactose. So this starts a signal transduction, like the little ligands that are lactose bind to little receptors, little receptors, and it starts a signal transduction pathway that makes lactase, which is a thing to process this lactose. And that is it for the first video. I will be putting the link to this slideshow on the description, as well as a Quizlet, I hope. We'll see what happens. But it has been a pleasure. I hope this is helping for people studying for the AP Biology exam. Bye!